All right, everybody. Welcome. Today is August 1st, 2018, and I am Dana Lynn Knuckles, the People's Oracle, and I am here to tell you about the astrology this month. July was a lot, okay? I know. I tried to prepare you, but sometimes there just really is no preparation for. All right, everybody. Oh, shoot. Hold on. You don't want to hear that. August 1st, 2018, and I am Dana Lynn Knuckles, the People's Oracle. Hold on, gotta mute that. Okay. A little echo feedback there. Um, yeah, so July was so much. I mean, I feel like we haven't even properly gotten into August because July is still like reverberating and, letting us know that it was about that life. And it's asking us, are you about that life? And August is going to continue to ask that question. We've got a lot happening this month. We're starting off with Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde, a waning moon after the big time 2018 eclipse that occurred on July 27th, 2018. And the sun is still in Cancer, Mercury is still in Cancer, Mars is still in Capricorn. And this is since May of 2018. So we're going on, what is this, month three? May, June, July. Oh, so we're on month four or something like that. We got 2 more months to go. No, August, September, and October. So 3 more months to go. So that means we're on month three. There we go. Because there's 6 months of the 6 months of the Mars and Capricorn transit. What else is happening as we ease into this month? I think that's pretty much it as far as where we're starting. Obviously, Jupiter and Saturn are still in their respective signs. That's Jupiter in Libra and Saturn in Sagittarius. Those signs are still very, very much doing what it is that they've been doing for a while now, which is Jupiter in Libra bringing us justice formed by women. And I do have a lot to say about that for August. Because this is really a transition month into some major, major, major things regarding that Libra trend. And then, of course, Saturn in Sagittarius, which is asking us to make our lives a living testimony of what we believe and what will we do in the face of those who make the world a testimony of what they believe when it is not what we believe, right? Got a little tension and clashing there. I'm actually chomping at the bit, like, I've been working, this is total side note, I've been working on the Jupiter in Scorpio. Thank you, Shaw T-Bree, for my hair. Good morning, Nora Graysick. I've been working on the Jupiter in Scorpio long read and framing questions that you guys can journal about, and questions that will help you prepare for and understand what to expect. And I'm like chomping at the bit because I'm like so excited about a planetary sign change. It just means I get to talk about something else, a new energy. But that's not until October, so I'm not going to waste time. Let's start off with where we are now. I got this little graphic, so let's see if I can make it show up without, blocking my face. All right, here. Look at this. Do you see that there on the side of the screen? This is August. And you can see very clearly here that the second week of August is where everything happens. But remember what I said about last month. We kind of had a similar pattern where it felt like some weeks were quiet, whereas other weeks were not. And what's important to understand that even though it looks like all that is happening during the first week of August is that Venus enters Virgo, which is today, you should look at the second week. Look at there on the 6th and the 8th and the 9th of the month, right? All of those are applying now, okay? So when we are in real time, this way, when we are in real time observing the planets, moving through signs and making aspects with each other, once the aspect has perfected, this includes new and full moons, once the aspect has perfected, the energy is really being released, or whatever it is represented by those planets and the aspect that they are coming together in, that thing is dissipating now. It really is the buildup, right? You can think of it as walking up a mountain, right? The work is in the actual walking up. Once you get to the top, you just stand there and you're like, yeah, I made it, but it's over. Same thing with an aspect. When we look at Sun squaring Jupiter, for example, on August 6th, that is the moment where you are at the top of the mountain and you're like, oh, okay, I did it. It's finished. So these days leading up to August 6th, those are the moments in time that we feel this aspect, we pay attention to it. So let's just get going. I have a lot to say about Venus and Virgo. I actually wrote a whole page of notes about this, and I'm going to explain to you why. We've been watching Venus for two primary reasons. First is that Jupiter is in Libra. Remember, Jupiter is the trendsetter each year. So we watch where Jupiter is by sign. And Jupiter is generally in a sign for about 1 year. And that is going to tell us what the primary trends are. How are we making progress? What are we focusing on? What do we believe is possible? What trends or ideas or themes shade the way that we interpret things? So Jupiter has been in Libra since September 11th, 2017. And because of that, Jupiter has been under the command of and answering to Venus. Why? Venus rules or is in command of or is domicile ruler, house ruler of Libra. So that means that as Venus changes signs, the color and tone of how Jupiter and Libra manifests changes as well. So the second reason why we've been watching Venus is because we are heading towards a Venus retrograde. And Venus retrogrades in the same sign every 8 years. Now, this year is just one of these kind of unprecedented, fascinating things. I'd have to go back and look and see the last time this would have happened. But essentially what we have happening here is Jupiter in Libra is finishing up its transit of that sign. And before Jupiter can leave Libra and go into Scorpio, which is going to be on October 10th, Venus is going to enter Libra. Now they won't conjoin again because Venus is slowing down for that retrograde, and Jupiter will have moved on to Scorpio before Venus gets really good into Libra. So we've been watching Venus move ahead of the sun, move ahead of Mercury and all of, well, I guess that's really on the other planets we'd be talking about because Mars has been retrograde. But Venus has been moving ahead of the sun and Mercury, leading the pack because it is making its maximum distance ahead of the sun in preparation for retrograde. So we've seen some symbolism in this regard, just watching the ways that women are prominent, not only because of Jupiter in Libra, but because this Venus is just like moving so fast, right, and getting through things, right? Venus changed signs today, it'll change signs again on September 1st. So all of this to say that we still want to pay close attention to what's happening with Venus because this is going to give us information about what we can expect with Jupiter in Libra. Okay, so I've got these notes here. I'm going to try not to read them because they're just kind of bullet points, but I really want to give you guys a thorough understanding of this. So Venus is entering Virgo today. That's August 1st. And what is happening is that Venus is entering the 12th sign of its domicile, meaning the 12th sign or 12th house from where it rules. So Virgo is the 12th sign from Libra. Now, if you've been following me or paying attention to my work for any amount of time, you'll know that something I repeat often is that adjacent signs are the most different. So when we talk about Virgo and Libra, specifically Venus being in the 12th sign of where it's at home, this is a big deal, right? So in addition to this 12th house placement thing, Virgo is the sign of Venus's fall, okay? And I've got another page of notes here too where I wrote about that. Here we go. So let's start there. Okay. So fall is a kind of debility. And I want you to get rid of words like weak or strong, right? Weak or strong is not giving me any information about a planet. A weak Mars, what does that mean? That you have no will or autonomy? There are people for who that is true, right? Meaning that they may be fully paralyzed. But it does not mean that they have no will. It just means that they don't have the freedom or strength of body to execute that will. Okay? So I want you to get rid of words like weak and strong in your vocabulary regarding astrology. It's not helpful. And get rid of good or bad because that's not helpful either. When we talk about fall, fall is the opposite of exaltation. So what we're saying is that Venus is exalted in Pisces and the sign opposite Pisces is where Venus is in its fall. So I wrote some notes here about this kind of concept here. Um, Exaltation is about occultation. It is about elevating this planetary significations, meaning whatever it may be, beyond its primal meaning. So, primally, Venus is about pleasure, unity, bringing things together. It's about making progress in a group or as a couple. It is about assimilating and adapting, right, in order to fit in. Now, this is just a plain principle. So when we apply the sign to the principle, then we understand what is the means or method by which this unification, this assimilation is going to occur. So when we are in the sign of Venus's exaltation, which is Pisces, exaltation is really trying to lift this up. Literally, it's saying we can do more than just come together. We can just have more than pleasure for the sake of pleasure. What does this pleasure, this unification, this relationship, this art, this beauty, this fun, this joy, what does this lead me towards? Pisces is all about connecting to something bigger, right? It's about moving beyond my own personal, emotional, physical experience, transcending that. In some ways, the signals or stimulation that I feel in my own body and connecting to something larger, which means I tap into the zeitgeist. I tap into the ability to perceive and feel something even though it didn't happen to my body. That's called empathy or being empathic. Now, when we talk about fall, this is the opposite of elevation or acculturation. So the primal significations in some way are magnified. Fall is demotion or depression, right? And this is really, really, really important to understand about Venus and Virgo, because what this is saying is that Virgo is about logic, a mathematical kind of logic that can be quantified with numbers, language, or symbols. Virgo is about precision. This is not perfection. Perfection is an ideal for which there is no measurable notion of success. Precision is about these are the precise steps that are going to lead me to the specified outcome, and that's Virgo. How does that fit with love and relationships? How does that fit with this idea of unity and assimilation and adaptation and coming together? Do you come together because it makes logical sense? Do you come together because the numbers add up? Virgo is about data and numbers. What is there evidence for that I can count, right? That I can measure, that I can qualify and give some type of representation of. Now, I know that we live in a culture that really deifies science, and we call it kind of scientism, this idea that all things can be measured. And if it cannot be measured, then it's not real. And this is the shadow or darker side or extreme side, rather, of Virgo, right? This idea that only what can be measured and accounted for and reproduced using strict scientific methods is what is real. But the problem is that how do you reproduce love? How do you make an accounting of love? What is the data, right? You can measure hormone levels. You can measure how much your pupils dilate. You can measure the brain activity and what's happening and the serotonin and the endorphins and the oxytocin, right? All of those things are trying to measure love, have data for love. But the only real measure of love is your physical experience, the primal attachment that you have that's rooted in your survival being tied to someone else's survival. That mutual need that if you don't survive, I don't survive. So I need to be mindful of your well-being on a mental, physical, spiritual, emotional level. So let's go back to Venus being in the 12th house of Libra. So we've got the fall thing, right? That Venus is very logical. And I want you to differentiate between logical and rational. Rational is using the faculties of reason to judge, and logic is using some type of mathematical, some type of evidence-based accountability in order to show evidence for something. And so this is where we find ourselves with Venus and Virgo. We find ourselves assimilating in a way that is not really tuning into the social cues or into, I want to say, the emotional feeling that you might get from something, right? Venus and Virgo was like, no, I need to see evidence. I need to count it, right? This is a real struggle for Venus. Now, this is not to say that it's bad. There are some times when let's talk political real quick. Let's talk political, right? Because the idea that we need to come together in a way that honors the data can be a good thing, right? This is what political campaigns do. They're trying to figure out how to create a consensus around their platform using data, right? So we can kind of understand from that during this Venus and Virgo transit, we are going to be talking a lot about polls, a lot about data, a lot about how we can use mathematical like precision in order to reach consensus and unify. Now, because Venus is in the 12th sign from Libra, where Jupiter is, there is this sense of undermining Jupiter, right? There is this sense of Virgo and all that it represents being foreign to Libra, where Jupiter is, right? So anytime you have planets in the 12th house, this goes for in your natal chart as well as for this configuration. The 12th house represents this feeling of being foreign. Now, I want to differentiate this from the 9th house, where the 9th house is foreign in the sense of culture or language. However, the 12th house is the feeling of being foreign, the feeling of this is not where I belong. I don't recognize these people. I don't feel like I fit here. This is not familiar to me, right? So there's no judgment there, right? I was explaining this to a client yesterday, and I've explained this to clients repeatedly, that when you grow up in an environment that is disruptive and it is not conducive to your emotional or physical well-being, that becomes your familiar, right? So let's say you've got, a Moon Saturn conjunction in Aries or something like that, where there was a lot of discord and separation, possible death of a parent, conflict or abuse, something like that, or maybe Moon and Saturn in Leo even. Where the father was this dominant figure. Remember, I'm speaking sidereally, so don't ask me about your tropical chart because I don't know. But for these people who have these difficult configurations surrounding their moon, their home, their family, their upbringing, their mother, that nurturing principle, the 12th house could be the greatest place in the world, because what is familiar to them is detrimental to their life and well-being. But what is unfamiliar can be something that is new and supportive and giving them the things that they wanted or did not have access to, right? Now, in this particular case, though, there is some challenge, because not only is Venus in the 12th sign from where Jupiter is, meaning that it's not really able to effectively support Jupiter and what it's trying to do, which is find consensus, unity, justice, fairness, right? Venus is in this just unfamiliar sign period, okay? So some questions that we can ask ourselves with this Venus, some questions that we can ask ourselves with Venus and Virgo. We can talk about how things add up. Do they add up? Does it make sense, right? You may think of yourself saying during this Venus and Virgo transit, no, that don't add up. That doesn't make sense. This isn't logical. Okay, I'm gonna move on because I got a lot to go, and I just spent like 20 minutes talking about Venus and Virgo. But I felt like that is really important. I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing I missed. Oh yes, I did want to mention that Jupiter was in Virgo, I believe from 2016 to 2017. So this would have been like August 2016 to September 2017 that Jupiter was in Virgo. And I need you to understand what was going on during that time. We were obsessively following the polls because it was election season, right? And we were for sure that Hillary was going to win. There was no way that Trump was going to win. But what we should have learned is that while the data can give us bits and pieces of information, it really takes a nuanced mind, the ability to weave together the bigger picture to really understand what's going on. The data failed us. And we know now that the data failed us because it's likely that Russia either altered or in some way obstructed our ability to have fair elections here in the States. And I am curious about what's going to come up in that regard while Venus is in Virgo. What kind of flashbacks are we going to have to Jupiter and Virgo's transit, again, which was from August 2016 to September 2017? What is our relationship with the data now? Are we really going to allow that to determine the big picture for us? Well, we're talking about Venus now, not Jupiter. So I do believe it's going to be different, but I expect some kind of revelation around the data, around computers, around the hacking, any type of technology oriented conversation around consensus, around voting. What kind of revelations are we going to have about what happened then during Jupiter and Virgo's transit this year while Venus is in Virgo, which is from August 1st till September 1st. Let's go to week 2 there. We've got the Sun square Saturn on August 6th. And this is the final square between the Sun square Jupiter on August 6th. See, you can read. So if I make a mistake, it's right there. Um, So this is the last major configuration between the Sun and Jupiter. And by major configuration, I'm talking square or opposition. So there's 2 squares between any 2 planets, generally speaking. And then there's 1 opposition. So this is the closing square. And this is between the Sun in Cancer and Jupiter in Libra. And I just want to go back to my notes here because I have these fancy notes from July. And I want to see, there was Venus. Oh no, but Venus was in Libra. Okay. Never mind, but this will be relevant for what I'll talk about next. Okay, but remember, when we're talking about this Cancer to Libra square, right? And we've seen this before because Venus has been in Cancer square Jupiter, and there are 3 squares, between Mercury in Cancer and Jupiter in Libra. So we've already had some conversations between these 2 signs. Any of you who got the eclipse reading from me, we talked about this in your eclipse reading, this relationship between what was going on in your Cancer Capricorn houses in the eclipse and its relationship with Jupiter and Libra. So primarily the square between Cancer and Libra is one of air and water. So we can start by just thinking about where in nature do air and water meet. Yeah, that's a tough one, right? We generally think as air as being above water and only permeating water by force. And even still, if air permeates water, then we have some type of disruption of the water, right? So if it's a windy storm, we have raucous waves, or if it's a tornado, the air is literally spinning and swirling with the water, just like in a hurricane. So we see water as obstructing our ability to see clearly because the wind has agitated the water, right? Now, I'm going to give you a really great example here. Have you ever tried to talk reason into someone who is very emotional, especially a kid, right? What are you crying for? It's okay, right? You can come up with the greatest, most sense-filled statement to say to this person who is having this, emotional experience, or whatever we want to call it, tantrum, anger, whatever it may be. But the fact of the matter is, there is no amount of reason. Well, I take that back. There is an amount of reason, but it's very difficult for reason to override the signals that someone's body is sending them. This is what the square between Cancer and Cancer and Libra is about. Cancer is about the ways in which we tune into the signals of our body. Very primal. Hunger, sleep, attachment, belonging, rootedness, groundedness, safety, connection, tribe, mother, sister, aunt, siblings, right? Cancer is about the ways in which we respond to the needs of our body. And how do we know that our body has needs? Because it sends us signals, right? Our stomach growls, we feel an emptiness, we start to get weak. That means we need to eat or drink, right? Now, Libra is air. So when we talk about the needs of the body, the ones that can be kind of, extreme or persistent, we come to Libra, and Libra's like, it's not that serious. Or there has to be another way that we can come together and solve this. And Cancer's like, I'm hungry, feed me. Cancer doesn't care about your politics, to be honest. It does not care about your reason or rationality. Cancer does not care about your ideas or principles. Cancer said, feed me. Cancer said, I need a place safe for my family. Cancer says, I'm hungry. I need to use the bathroom. I'm tired. I need to sleep, right? Now, this should really give you some interesting insight on what we're experiencing collectively. If you recall, I've been tweeting about this a lot and I've talked about it in the July forecast as well, that the Cancer, Jupiter, and Libra squares have been a major focal point or correlation to the families who've been separated at the border, right? This is exactly the Cancer Libra square. These families are like, I just want to be safe. I don't want to be murdered in cold blood. And the risk that I'm willing to take in order to do that is very high. I don't care about your laws. And that's not even fair. It's not that I don't care about your laws, but it's more so that the needs of my body are more important than the repercussions that I may face in answering to those needs, right? So here we have a situation where in this particular case, it's the sun in Cancer is in the superior square to Libra. That means that Cancer, where the sun is, is earlier in the zodiac. And anytime we have an overcoming square like this, it means that the planet in the superior position, which is the sun in Cancer, has the upper hand here. Okay? All right? And even still, now that Venus is in Virgo, Jupiter is not as effective, right? Jupiter is trying to figure out how it can work in its own, do what it has to do, while listening to Venus in Virgo, who just seems really confused, right? Does it add up or does it not? Okay, so Sun square Saturn next week. We've already got news today, overnight, that a child has died in the custody of ICE. And let me just plug here, abolish ICE, abolish ICE, abolish ICE, abolish ICE. We don't need it, it's time to go. But, you know, we've already had that, and I feel like that's going to be very important moving forward. I do have a thread of tweets that I'll re-up after I finish this video. You can find it by searching People's Oracle, and even just abolish ICE. Those two things together, you'll see my thread of predictions where I see some difficulty coming for ICE come October, some legal jeopardy over the next few weeks and months, and we can kind of see that it's adding up. The ACLU has already, I don't know if it's the ACLU, but there have been multiple lawsuits against ICE already this year because they're just out of pocket, out of line, and yeah, it's time to go. Let's move on here. We've got Mercury conjunct the Sun. This is a cool one because this one happens every time we have a Mercury retrograde. And this is this the second Mercury retrograde of the year? Yeah, we have 3 this year. So the first one was in Pisces, second one is in Cancer, and the last one is in Scorpio. Oh, I cannot wait to talk about that Scorpio Mercury retrograde. Ugh, it's the end of this year. And let me just tell you that if you thought that 2016 had finished what it was trying to do, boom, nope. It's coming back for you this year and next year. But in any case, this Mercury retrograde in Cancer started, I don't know. Look at the calendar. Hold on, let me find it. Y'all can be so patient with me, and I appreciate it. Yes, I do. All right, Mercury went retrograde. Oh, that was that. That was in the last. Oh, it was the last week of July. Why does last week feel like 50 years ago? Oh my gosh, that was just last week. It's not. It hasn't even been a week since Mercury retrograde. Oh my God, I swear it was like 3 weeks ago. Anyways, Mercury is in its inferior conjunction with the Sun. So Mercury is doing the yeah, right? It's doing the whole Missy Elliott reverse in Cancer. And the inferior conjunction is when the Sun overtakes Mercury via conjunction and gives it this baptism of fire. The Mercury and Sun are a very, very special planetary pair. Um, a very, very special pair because Mercury is never more than what, like 28 degrees away from the sun, something like that, 22, 28 degrees away from the sun, um, which means that they're tethered together, right? And astrologically, this is really significant because, contrary to popular belief, the sun is not who you are. The sun is your mind, it is your intellect, it is perception and consciousness, awareness, right? Being present in the body, right? And Mercury is your hands, your arms and shoulders. It is tools, it is language and symbols and numbers. Mercury, in essence, is articulation. How does Mercury articulate the perception of the mind? And that is how you interpret Mercury in the natal chart. Right? You look at the sign and you say, how is this person articulating the perceptions of their mind? Right? How are they putting into words what it is that they see and perceive? Okay. So at this particular point, when Mercury is overtaken by the sun, roar, right, and it burns up Mercury, and Mercury emerges behind the sun, brand new, having been baptized and getting a re-up on its orders from the general, Mercury will go backwards. Generally, planets being cazimi, meaning right, at the same sign and degree within 17 minutes of arc of the sun is called cazimi, and that's a really powerful position. But I don't know about that for Mercury retrograde. I don't really know if it's a thing, to be honest, because Mercury retrograde generally means things happening unexpectedly, unexpected revelations, things happening suddenly, there being delays, or just working out in ways that you can't predict, which we know that happens a lot when Mercury is retrograde. You're going to go travel, and then your flight gets canceled, and then it gets delayed, and then they just cancel it all together, and then they don't want to give you a refund for your ticket, and they're not even going to give you a new flight because Mercury gets messy, right? That's what happens sometimes. But other times you get to renegotiate a contract that you signed because now your responsibilities are different and you get some more money or whatever it may be. Sometimes that happens too. It's a good thing. So it's not all boogeyman stuff with Mercury retrograde. Anyway, let's move on here. We're going to go to Venus square Saturn on August 9th. Do you see the trusty? How do I do this here? Do you see it? This is hard to do. There it is. Oh. I feel like I just tried to grab the sun. You know how people take pictures holding the sun? Yeah, anyways. August 9th, Venus square Saturn. All right. For this one, my friends, I've got to take you back in time. To where? I'm going to take you back to March and April. That was a really special time for us. So special that I gave it a name. I called it Mutable Madness because everything except for Jupiter was in a mutable sign. What are mutable signs? Mutable signs are bicorporeal. They mean two or more of something. Mutable signs are changeable and adaptable. Don't read that as fickle. Read that as when I get some new information or more data, Virgo, or a new experience, Sagittarius, I can change course. I can respond and change and redirect with new information or experiences. Right? Now, sometimes, of course, that goes to the extreme because there's too much information, too many experiences, too much data. How do I make sense of it all? How do I know where to go? Right? But in essence, mutable signs are like, oh, I did not know that before. That changes things. Whereas fixed signs are like, that's very interesting. I'm still going this way. I'll see you later. Right? So this Venus square Saturn brings back the whole mutable madness thing just for a moment. It's not really madness per se this time. I would say it's a mutable mingle. Yeah, it's a mutable mingle between Venus in Virgo and Saturn in Sagittarius. I want to talk to all of my friends who have Venus square Saturn in their natal charts, and this is by sign. One thing that you guys often deal with is this sense that what you desire, what you like, what you are attracted to, is not what is available to you, right? The unrequited longing that seems to never be fulfilled, right? This is Venus square Saturn. Venus is like, I love red cherry flavored lollipops. And Saturn is like, all we've got here is grapes. So you can get no lollipop or you can get a grape lollipop. It's up to you. Meanwhile, Venus is like, but I like cherry ball lollipops. Why can't I just have a cherry lollipop? And Saturn's like, look, you had a choice here. Now, if you want a lollipop, you can choose from what's available here, or you can have no lollipop at all. All right. This is the conundrum that we find with Venus square Saturn in the natal chart. And this is the conundrum that we find with Venus square Saturn on August 9th and the days leading up to that. Right. How are we dealing with the options that are available to us versus what we desire? Ultimately, when we're dealing with a Venus square Saturn, there's this sense that there needs to be a process of refinement. There needs to be a sober recognition of the options available and adjusting your desire in order to make a choice from what is available to you, right? Rather than the longing and the pining and why can't I have a cherry lollipop? That's what we want to do, right? When Venus is square Saturn. We want to whine about what we don't have and wonder why we can never get our way. And Saturn is like, grow up. All right, let's keep going here. Ooh, okay. This one is really juicy, people. I'm looking at y'all comments. That's why I keep going back over here. Let me see what y'all talking about. Hey, everybody. I love y'all. Okay, let's talk about this new moon in Cancer on August 11th, which is at the same time that Mercury retrograde is square Jupiter for the second of 3 times. We're going to come back to that, and I only talk about that briefly. I really, want to talk about, this new moon in Cancer because, like, low-key, for real, not even low-key, high-key. I pulled up the chart for this new moon, and I wrote it down here. Where is it? Sun, moon, Mercury, North Node, and the ascendant, right? Because this happens at sunrise on the East Coast and in the Midwest, are all in Cancer. Yeah. That's a lot of stuff in Cancer. I hope I didn't say Venus. I didn't. But it's Sun, Moon, Mercury, North Node, and Ascendant, right? All in Cancer. Cancer house is lit up. Now, this is a big deal for a couple reasons. First of all, again, if you got my eclipse reading, you know that we talked about this push-pull between Cancer and Capricorn, between the Cancer and Capricorn houses in our chart. And I also talked about that, and I'm going to tweet about this more because I feel like people need to know, and it'll probably be, in September that I talk about this, that Libra is the last sign standing. And that's because Cancer will no longer be occupied as of September 2nd. Capricorn will no longer be occupied as of November 5th, the day of the election. I just love how astrology just be so like, it's time. It's keeping track of time. Woo! I just can't wait for what we will have learned by November 5th. Juicy. Anyways, though, Libra is the last sign standing because even after Jupiter leaves on October 10th, Venus will still be there until January 1st, 2019. That is a long time. Okay, anyways, we're talking about this new moon in Cancer. I want to talk about the fact that this is not an eclipse, but actually, you know what? Some people are calling this an eclipse. And I want to check and see where the nodes are. Some people are calling this eclipse. I asked some folks about it, and I don't remember what was said. Okay, let me see here. Where is the nodes? It's a partial eclipse. I don't know. I'll see what the consensus is amongst my astrological friends. But what is important to know is that there was an eclipse February 2017. I believe it was February 12th, the very end of Cancer. That was the first of a series of eclipses in Cancer and Capricorn. What was going on for you then? What were you doing? What was going on for you February 2017? Is it over? No, I know it's not. It's still rolling. Then there was another eclipse, this time in Capricorn, but around this same degree in this same sign pair, August 7th, 2017. Yeah. So, all of that to say that what is going on in your Cancer and Capricorn houses? Let's talk about Cancer though. Let's talk about where it is in your chart. I'm gonna run this down real quick. This video is just gonna be long because there's a lot going on. I just have to accept that about life. Okay, let's run this down. Cancer, rising Cancer is your first house. Anytime we have transits to the first house or to the planet that is the domicile ruler of our first house, so for Cancer, that would be your moon. This is talking to us about actions that we undertake, things that we do personally, and things that happen to our person, our body, right? Not other people, but you or me, if it's my ascendant. Okay, so this is talking about your own physical body, Cancer, rising. What are you doing? What projects are you undertaking? How are you taking care of yourself? How are you responding to the needs of your body? Are you too busy trying to control other people? Or are you minding your own business? Or maybe you can do both. We'll see. All right, let's go to the next sign. I'll go in order. I won't fool around with y'all. Fool around myself, really confusing you. Okay, Leo's next. So here's that pesky 12th house. Cancer is the body by way of the moon. Leo is the mind by way of the sun. So there is this sense that the body undermines the mind. Like we just want to be conscious and aware and present in the body. And the body is like, if you don't take me to the bathroom to drop these children off at the pool, I don't care what you're thinking about, right? Cancer is the persistence of the body. So Leo, this is freaking insane. I did so many readings with my clients who were sidereal Leo rising. Almost all of them have been having these changes and fluctuations in their work where they have taken on a new position, applying for a new position in their work, or there were massive layoffs sometime between November 2016 and August 2017, or maybe they're impending, right? All of this shifting around in their peers at work, their coworkers, just the stress and obligations, toilsome projects, and all of those things. Just feeling like a doggone grind for Leo rising. The other set of things that have been happening for Leo rising clients is health issues that people know they have not been on top of, and they acting brand new about why their body's doing what it's doing, and it's because for some reason they have not been able to or willfully neglected their health issues. So, my Leo risings, you should be taking care of yourself, right? And please, if you should be on medication, don't let these woo-woo people tell you that you shouldn't take your medication, because I'm pretty sure that you would prefer to be alive. And that's all I have to say about that. What's next? Virgo rising. Cancer is your 11th house. This is about groups and organizations whose causes align with how you see the world and what you want to do. Helpful people, mentors. Do you have any women mentors? All my Virgo rising people, who are your women mentors who are offering you opportunities to connect to people they know, resources you need for projects you know you want to do? The only other thing I can think about with the 11th house is audiences and fans. So if you are producing some work, this is a time to get your stuff out there. After this new moon in Cancer, after, right? After the new moon in Cancer. That's a great time to display some work or put something out there, Let's move on. What comes after Virgo? Libra. Oh, Libra, this is your 10th house. How's it going with that woman boss of yours? Is it going well? Is this person sympathetic to your cause? Are they helpful to you? Are they giving you responsibilities that align with your skill set, or are they someone you don't really want to deal with? I don't know. But our 10th house rules superiors and bosses, people who are over us, and also our own authority and prominence out in the world. Did you get a promotion, Libra rising? How's that going for you? Yeah. But there's stuff going on at home for Libra rising with Mars still in the 4th house, so you got to find that balance. Home, family, all that stuff. What is next? Let me take a sip of water. After Libra is Scorpio. Scorpio, this is your 9th house. So, are you going on vacation? Do you have a trip? Are You going back to school, Scorpio rising, or sun or moon? What else is ninth house? Are you running for office? Hmm. What else is ninth house? Ooh, what's your relationship with women clergy, priestess? What's your relationship with formal religion? How's that working out for you? That's a big conversation for you right now. This formal religion versus your own spiritual journey and how you're navigating that space. Um, Sagittarius, this is your eighth house. Eighth house is other people's money, shared resources, access to other people's money, debt, loans. Um, it is also death and inheritances, so benefits or losses that come from death. And it's also where we face our mortality. So when we have this new moon in the eighth house for Cancer, how are you handling or dealing with debt? How are you coming to terms with your dependence or your newfound independence with Mars in your second house? If you've got planets in Cancer and you are Sagittarius rising, there definitely has been this conversation between your dependence upon other people or other people's dependence upon you, and you working really hard to establish some financial autonomy. How's that working out for you? This new moon in Cancer can give you a boost. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Somebody is trying to help you. Don't be willful. Don't be willful and be like, nah. Right now, of course, you want it to be on terms that are good for you long term, but still, man, don't be willful. Say thank you. Okay. Capricorn rising. Oh, you guys, I love all uh, my Capricorn uh, rising people because this cardinal convergence has been up in your business, like hardcore. Cancer rising, Capricorn rising, Aries rising, Leo rising, like for real, like every part of your life has been touched by this cardinal convergence. So this new moon in Cancer is talking about relationships and partnerships. I want you, Capricorn rising specifically, I want you to go back to the end of January. And everybody can do this for sure because there's going to be something pertinent to the topics I've just described for your sign. And remember, I forgot to say this, sidereal, sidereal, sidereal. If you are not this rising sign in tropical, okay, just go to my website, thepeoplesoracle.com, click sidereal birth chart and follow the instructions there. But anyways, Capricorn rising, relationships, what are they requiring of you? I know Capricorn rising, you like to control everything. If you don't stop, like for real, let people help you every once in a while. Cooperate, right? There are things outside the limitations of your perception that can lead you toward the success that you desire if you just stop trying to control things so much, Capricorn. I love you. I got Capricorn. I do it too. But life has a way of humbling you, if you know what I mean. But yeah, for Capricorn, this is about your relationships and partnerships. This is about any litigation or ongoing negotiations as far as contracts or legal proceedings, etc., etc. I've only gone halfway through. Shoot, what's next? Aquarius. Aquarius, this is your sixth house. Work, obligations, illness. What's going on with your stomach, Cancer, or Capricorn? No, what are we on? Aquarius rising. Aquarius rising. How's your stomach? How's your digestion? How do you deal with stress? Does your stomach start acting up? Do you take probiotics? Do you need to stop drinking coffee and eating spicy foods? Do you treat your job like it is your child? Do you know how to say no to taking on responsibilities that are not in your job description? Tell me, do you? How's that working out for you? Aquarius rising for Cancer in the sixth house too. If you're applying for a new position, it's a great time to interview, but just know that it'll be better for you once Mercury stations direct August 18th. We'll get to that if I can get through this forecast. This is going to be an hour and a half. Lord help me. What are we on? Pisces rising. This is your fifth house. Love, sex, pleasure, creativity, children, sports, gambling, fun, leisure, pleasure, leisure. Please her. All of these things are your fifth house. And this is where the new moon is. Are you trying to conceive, Pisces rising? If you are not trying to conceive, you should do the things that should keep you from conceiving. Um, do you have some new creative project that you're working on, Pisces rising? What is going on with children in your world? Do you work with children? How's that going for you? Yeah. What's next? Aries. This is your fourth house, home, property, where you live and put down roots. If you are seeking to move, look, look right now. But don't sign a lease until after Mercury stations direct. That's just not the kind of contract that you can generally revisit. And if you revisit it, it's generally because the landlord says that they're switching from month to month or something like that, you know. Generally, those kinds of things have a hard time turning around and working in your favor. So you probably shouldn't sign at least till after August 18th. But if you're looking for a new place, I wouldn't be surprised, or making changes to your home, family, mother, aunt, sister, cousin, somebody coming to visit you. It's a great time for that. But this is also kind of push pulling with your career and really trying to find a strong sense of rootedness and groundedness, creating a safe haven in your home while you deal with all of the bull yang that's happening with your superiors and bosses and in your career, because it is some bull yang, right? Or is it bull yang that you cause because you're willful and bullheaded? I don't know. You should think about that. It might be good. Who knows? We are at Taurus. Only two more signs left. Yes. Taurus, this is your third house. This is your siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, and sisters, near relatives. All of those things are third house. Also, the third house is the house of heretics. So, if you are undertaking a course of study regarding some kind of spiritual something, right, this is a great time to revisit that book that introduced you to something outside of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, or just something different from what you were raised with. Taurus rising is learning to come to terms with spiritual authority in their life. And it's really just great to go with what is, but sometimes you need to respond to what your body is telling you. You need to be cognizant of the fact that sometimes what everyone else is doing doesn't work for you, Taurus rising. And that's okay. I know you struggle with that. You just don't want to rock the boat and you like for things to be comfortable, right? You are entitled to pleasure. Absolutely, you are. You are entitled to convenience. But at the same time, you have to know when that's not working in your best interest. Jupiter and Scorpio is going to teach you a lot about that, Taurus rising. Talk about that another time, okay? I love you. It's okay. Um, where are we? Gemini rising. Gemini rising, Cancer is your second house. So similar to Sagittarius rising, this is about money for you, your earned income. How do you earn your money, and what changes are you making to your source of income and spending habits in order to better facilitate the needs you have? Are there changes happening in your work that changes the way that you earn your money? I don't know. That's really quite possible. Um, yeah, with that being said, let's move on here. I'm going to skip over Mercury, our ex square Jupiter. Sun enters Leo on August 16th. I'll talk about that on my timeline. Follow me on Twitter at People's Oracle, and we're going to talk about Leo. One of the most misunderstood sign. If y'all listen, let me just say this about Leo. Please, I'm really begging you. Can you guys stop talking about Leo as if it's like vain? Like Leo is like, oh, my hair. Venus. Venus rules aesthetics, appearance, vanity, wanting to be liked and accepted. Leo is more concerned with making sure that you don't make them look bad, not in the like physical appearance sense, but in the ego, self concept, reputation sense, right? So please stop talking about Leo as if it's like this shallow, like easily flattered sign. Like that's just not astrologically sound. We'll talk about that another time, but just take that with you as you go forward talking about Leo. Um, what else is happening here? Mercury stations direct on, ooh, where is it? Mercury stations direct on August 18th. Okay, big deal stuff. I was talking to Capricorn Rising earlier, asking them to think back to January, but we should all be thinking back to January 31st when there was an eclipse at 17 degrees Cancer. And who would have thunk it? Look at here. Mercury's going to station direct at 17 degrees Cancer on August 18th. So you connect the dots, man. Connect the dots. I told you where your Cancer house was, right? What is happening? What's going on? January, August, January, August. What's going on? I don't know. Do you see the connection? Can you see the connection? Is there a connection? I know there is. You just might have to think about it. What were the major themes? What was happening in your life at the end of January? Come on, think about it. There's a direct connection to now. Projects and things you were trying to undertake at that time might finally have the opportunity to move forward. Different things that were happening then may produce opportunities, challenges, or consequences now. Yeah. Think about your Cancer house. Rewind and listen again to what I said for your rising sign or moon sign or sun sign. All right. Week 4. Where is this full moon in Aquarius? 9 degrees. I don't really have anything to say about that. I'll talk about it when it comes. One thing to note, once we hit wow. Once we hit next week, Mars is creepy crawly. Super duper uber slow. Very, very slow. And that is because Mars is going to station direct. So we have this thing where, like, less than 10 days apart, Mercury stations direct, then Mars stations direct. Direct stations are better than retrograde stations. Let me just put that out there. So there's no need to panic. But what you do need to know about this whole retrograde business is that when we talk about a retrograde, it's really around these stations where you should be mindful of the significations around what that particular retrograde means. So for Mercury in general, the direct station and the retrograde station, the fact that Mercury or Mars is moving slow is the thing. Emphasis, acting in unexpected ways, demanding our attention, causing upheaval, all of those things. Now for Mars, Mars is going to spend 4 weeks between 6 to 4 degrees of 4 to 6, 6 to 4, whatever, degrees of Capricorn. That is most of August into the first couple of weeks of September. Now, we're going to switch topics here. Excuse me. Excuse me, allergies hit me hard with the ragweed. We're going to switch topics here, and we're going to talk United States. What's going on here? I like to say I told you so. I won't even pretend like I hate to say it because I love to say it. And I love to say it because I love to show you how consistent and logical astrology is. Like, I cannot make this up. I just can't. One thing to know for sure, though, is that November 2016. So, again, if you partook in my eclipse special, which is now over, the next time I'll do it, well, I don't know. I'm torn between the end of 2019 and the middle of 2019. Maybe I'll do 2. I don't know. The one at the end of 2019 is just like, so that might be the next time I do an eclipse special. But I will be offering a special after Mercury stations direct. I'll tell you about that at the end of this forecast. Anyways, if we go back to November 2016, and I was talking about this with clients in the eclipse reading, that was really the starting point for everything that we're dealing with now. Mars was in Capricorn then, and it was giving us a prelude, laying down the the foundation, the track work, the groove in the ground in the Capricorn part of our charts in preparation for not only the Cancer and Capricorn eclipses, but this current 6-month-long Mars and Capricorn transit that we're in. When I was talking with my clients and I asked them what was going on in November 2016, almost all of them have this very visceral memory of the moment that Donald Trump was elected. And the reason why that is important and not ancillary to this whole Mars and Capricorn thing is that the day that Donald Trump was elected, which was like November 8th, 2016 or something like that, Mars was at 5 degrees of Capricorn. There are no coincidences in astrology, okay? There are no coincidences. So, even going back to the Mercury retrograde, there was an eclipse at 17 Cancer. And now Mercury is going to station direct at 17 Cancer. This is not a coincidence. Like, oh, look at that. This is astrology. This is what it's about. Keeping time, marking time. What is the significance of the moment? What is happening then? And can you connect the dots so you can make sense and be prepared? Okay? So, Mars being at 5 degrees Capricorn the day Donald Trump got elected. Big deal astrology stuff. Mars is going to spend a month hovering around 5 degrees. That blows my mind. It blows my mind because it's very obvious if we look around us that the pace of the Trump Russia investigation, revelations around exactly what happened in 2016, and now we know that it started in 2013, which let me just tell you about that, right? So 2013, I believe, was the Miss Universe contest in Moscow, right? All of this stuff about Trump's like, I didn't meet with Putin. Putin hand wrote this dude a letter and had it hand delivered to him with a gift, right? So he's full of bullying. But the whole point being that this was when Donald Trump made his first announcements that he was going to run for president. And it was in that moment that Russia went to work helping the Republican nominee, which turned out to be Trump, surprise, surprise, win. What was happening astrologically in November 2013? I wish I had my software open so I can pull up and show you, but I'll just tell you. Libra, Sun in Libra, Mercury in Libra, Moon in Libra, probably Venus in Libra, Saturn in Libra. Massive, I believe the nodes were in Libra too. Massive Libra transit. There are no coincidences in astrology, my friends. So when we watch Jupiter in Libra and then the Venus retrograde in Libra that lasts the last 4 months of 2018 right up and through election day, which happens at a new moon in Libra, y'all, I can't even. Ooh, I'm like, oh, astrology is so lit. Anyway, all this to say, there's no coincidences in astrology. So as we spend the next month hovering around the 6 to 4 degrees of Capricorn, we can personally be thinking back to November 2016. And we can be thinking about January and February, well, February mostly 2017, July into just the first couple days of August 2017, and January 2018 at the end, with all the Capricorn transits and the eclipse in Cancer, right where we've got this Mercury retrograde. There are no coincidences in astrology. So if there was ever a time for us to find out what happened, who did it, and what are they doing now, this is the time to find out. This is the time to find out. What are you doing, right? The Capricorn part of our chart is still so busy with Mars. Mars is going to be there till November 5th, right up to the day before election. That tells me that Mars has got some serious work still to do, right? For us collectively as well as in our natal charts personally. Capricorn is so much about being sober and working within existing limitations. But the blessing here is Libra. When we have multiple cardinal signs occupied like we do now, there is this sense that there is more than one way to make progress and move forward towards our goals, right? Cancer is doing it for primal reasons. This is what my body needs. This is what the collective, the body of people have expressed as a need. So we've come together tribally in a sense. Aries is about, I'm doing this because I can. There's no explanation. There's no rationale behind it. I felt it. I do it. Right? It's my own will and autonomy, the freedom to just do. But Libra wants you to agree with him. Libra is like, I need you to see things my way. So I'm going to convince you and appeal to reason and rationality, right? I'm going to appeal to your ability to think objectively. Libra is all about propelling an objectively verifiable reality, right? It's not really my personal opinion as much as it is about the principle. And that if I can outline for you the reason and rationality behind this principle, says Libra, then I can get you to agree and we can move forward. That has worked really well for some aspects of life. And for many of us, this has meant that we have been able to engender cooperation with people as we move forward in life. I don't want you to forget about that part of your chart as Mars is stationing direct. However, Mars has a lot more support this month just because Venus will be trine, and the ruler of Jupiter and Libra, Venus, is really not feeling Libra. Like, that's just the way it is. So I think that that's all I have to say about this. We do have two more Mercury square Jupiter, one when Mercury is retrograde on the 11th, and the final one when Mercury is direct on the 28th. And let me just, when was that other Mercury? July 9th. That was the first Mercury square Jupiter. So the second one is August 11th. The last one is August 28th. And yeah, I'll talk about that in my weekly forecast. I'm Dana Lynn Knuckles, the People's Oracle. If you are looking for where you can find my work, you can find me at thepeoplesoracle.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at People's Oracle. I told you I was going to tell you about a special I've got coming up. So this past week, I offered a tarot special. I'm still finishing those up by email because it's just been a lot to be doing a lot of in-person and over-the-phone readings. So I've kind of shifted to offering something at a lower price point, generally for people who have not had one of my services before because it's just out of their budget. So I like to do this intermittently because everybody deserves access to divination for liberation in some way, shape, or form. So two things. I'm offering another special after Mercury stations direct. You can see that is on August 18th. I'm going to take this off the screen because I'm tired of looking at it. So I'm offering another special. Now, the last special I did was tarot. This special is very, very special. This is going to be an astrology special, and it's something I've never done before, but I'm really excited. It's for first-time clients only, so if you've never, ever, ever had a reading and you've been waiting for a special or you've been waiting for an opportunity to get something that's more in your budget, I am going to be offering just 11 astrology readings by email. And these are not long, drawn out astrology readings. You can ask me a question, but in general, I'm just going to tell you what's coming up. I'm going to tell you what I see in your chart, what's your natal promise, and what is coming up for you, what you can expect. Okay. And you can ask questions though. You can ask questions. You can ask me about a specific placement in your chart, a specific circumstances that you're dealing with, or the time that you would like to do something. Nothing is really off guard. Generally, I'll give you some guidelines for how to ask questions because I did not do that for tarot, and I understand that some people just aren't familiar with tarot. But I'm going to do that for astrology. Again, you should be following me on Twitter at People's Oracle because that is how I announce this special. It's going to be after Mercury stations direct on August 18th. Okay. Second thing is, if you are in Chicago or Chicagoland area, I offer in-person readings once a month. I partner with Haji Healing Salon, which is this amazing healing place where you can come and get community acupuncture, yoga, Thai massage. They now offer cupping, right? You can get sound therapy, right? All of these, and this is on the south side of Chicago in Chatham, 79th and Cottage Grove. So that's where I am every second Sunday of the month. This Sunday, I don't know when the second Sunday is, so I have to look at my calendar. This month, I'm going to be there on August 12th. So if you're in Chicago, and this is another opportunity where you can experience a reading with me and get it at a lower price point, right? My prices aren't for everyone. Not everyone can afford to sit on the phone with me for an hour, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't get access to the wisdom of astrology and tarot. So join me at Haji Healing Salon on the second Sunday of August, which is August 12th this month, and I will be doing in-person readings. That is all I have for you. This month is jam-packed, and again, it's one of those times where so much of what we've been talking about and anticipating astrologically is coming to pass. So be paying attention to my timeline on Twitter, and I will be sure to give you more information and specifics about how things are playing out for all of us. I love to give commentary on current events and to provide insights. Um, Coming in about September or October, I'm going to be publishing on my blog political predictions. So if there is a race that you want me to make a prediction for, you should send it to me at People's Oracle on Twitter. And if you have access to their birth information, send it to me. That makes my job so much easier. All right. You guys enjoy August. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your bodies. Stay close to your families and find love where you can get it. You guys take care.